Good morning, everybody. My name is JP Cahalan. I'm back with another episode of The Final Mile, XOI's podcast that brings together industry leaders in the trades to talk about how technology such as XOI and others, are really supercharging these field service organizations and meeting the technician where they need to be met in 2023. Today is going to be an awesome episode as I got Joe Lang from Comfort Systems here to join me. Joe is a fantastic person, fantastic human, and has a ton of industry knowledge. So I'm really looking forward to talking with him today. I do want to give him the floor and allow him to kind of introduce himself and talk a little bit about his role at Comfort Systems and what he does. So, Joe, if you don't mind telling us a little bit, that'd be awesome.
Thanks, JP. Very kind introduction, and thank you for that. So Joe Lang with Comfort Systems USA. I've been with Comfort Systems coming up on 15 years now, and I'm Vice President of Service Technology and Innovation. And while that sounds like a great big title, it's really, we're kind of focused on finding technologies and platforms and processes that help us create a great customer experience with our technician at the touch point of the customer. So those are kind of where we focus our efforts to find things that bring a value to the customer that they might not otherwise experience or have with an organization. And that's our singular focus pretty much.
That's fantastic, man. It is as I think we all know in this day and age, it has become something that there's no longer a carbon copy just getting left and it's a see you later. People are expecting more because the world is at our fingertips now. And I think the fact that you guys, as Comfort have this, I don't want to say singular focus, but this drive towards, we got to keep our eye on this. We got to keep making sure that we're providing this to our end customer. I think that's huge, man. You have been involved in the industry for quite some time, and I love how you have this visibility into obviously everything that the Comfort Systems groups are doing, but I know you've had visibility into other organizations and other contractors and other service providers. Do you think that the concept of a good technician, what makes a good technician, has changed over the last couple of years with technology being what it is and obviously the kind of skilled trades gap that we have? Do you think that, hey, that's a good tech, that's changed in what it means?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great topic to get on because not only has the technician changed, but so has the customer as well. And so having been in this industry now over 40 years and having been a technician, one of the interesting things is we used to measure a technician or a good or great technician by how well they knew the piece of equipment or what they were working on, how fast they could fix it, all those types of things. But what really is kind of transpiring is because customer experience is so important now, a good technician still has to have skills. They can't be without skills for sure, but they also have to have a great presence about them and present what it is they're doing in a very acceptable way with the customer. So the customer expects a better interaction, not just somebody that can fix the stuff, but somebody that can effectively communicate with them, is resourceful. I'm finding that more and more customers don't expect the technician to know how to fix everything because nobody knows everything. What I am finding is that the customer expects the technician to be kind, have good communication skills, and be resourceful to find the right things to help them solve the problem. And that is one of the things that brings technology into it, is that's just one of those resources and tools that a technician can utilize to solve a customer issue these days.
Now, you hit on a key word there that I think is super interesting. You said resourceful, and because I've been batting this around for quite some time. I mean, we all know what's going on. Everybody's trying to find more techs, trying to find more bodies, trying to find all that. And it's like, okay, this evolution of obviously the internet and the ability for techs to get information, I don't need them, to your point, to know everything. I need them to be able to go find things. I need them to be able to say, I have the tools and I know how to leverage the tools. And it's no longer just gauges and screwdrivers and wrenches. It's applications that have been provided by companies such as yourself to that tech to say, hey, we're going to arm you with resources to be able to figure out what's going on when you need to, leverage help when you need to best support that customer. It's kind of this, I don't want to say it's an epiphany, but it's like, okay, we need to dial back what good means because there's so much that people can access. It's about creating somebody who knows what to do and when to do it with what they have at their fingertips. So now I like that word resourceful. I'm going to roll that into the repertoire as we kind of have that conversation. So now I'm going to flip it on its head a little bit. We talked about the
Okay.
tech, what makes a good tech. I know you were a tech, you've come up through the ranks and all that. Do you think the concept with the evolution of the tech and how they're changing, do you think what makes a good service manager or a great service manager has also changed? Has that kind of run in parallel, or has one kind of gone faster than the other?
Oh, that's a good question. The service manager of today has also evolved along the same regards that they've got to be just as resourceful, but it's a little bit different in how they're resourceful in solving a customer's issue. The service manager isn't necessarily just the technician, um, super knowledge base, if you will.
Mhm.
The service manager is the customer advocate. They're the customer communication. They're a problem solver for all of the other things beyond the piece of equipment, because customer isn't just about that piece of equipment. The customer is about their business. And so the service manager of today has to help be the partner with that customer, along with the sales and actually the overall organization, because customers really do want to work with partners. And so they want partners that know their business, care about them as a person, and will be resourceful in helping them solve their problems effectively and cost efficiently too. And so that service manager tends to be one of those key focal points with that customer relationship. So they don't see the customer as much, but when they do see the customer, it's got to be very effective. And they've got to allow the technicians to be more resourceful. They've got to put more trust in the technicians and not just be the super tech helping the tech when he gets in a bind with something. So it's gotten more complex to be a service manager, in my opinion, today than what it was even when I was a service manager 15 years ago.
Yeah, you bring up some great points there, and I, as you were talking through it again, like I kind of tossed out these questions, and I love these conversations because in my mind, I'm starting to think a little bit more and more. It used to be, and I don't want to speak for putting words in your mouth. It used to be like, hey, yeah, you're most knowledgeable and good communicator. That was your service manager because you wanted them to put out all the fires when needed. I think as we kind of see in it, it's like, listen, to your point, it's like it's almost this is a customer advocate. This is somebody who is actually knowing these businesses, but it's also, I think, evolving into they need to be a teacher. They need to be able to shepherd these younger technicians and say, hey, here's how we're going to do it. It's no longer just, no, I told you how to fix it. It's this wire to this wire, it's this wire. It's more so, hey, let's talk about how you solve that problem next time. And I think that, with all these tools, it's interesting to look at. We always talk about the tech. We don't talk about the evolving service manager role and what's now on their plate. And I think teacher is one of them, which I think 15 years ago, that might not have been the case.
I think I would temper that just a little bit, that they've always been a teacher, but it's always been a technical teacher, how to
Yes,
fix
sir.
this,
Yeah.
how to fix that. I think today it's more how to be um not just a technician, but also teach them about how to be a relationship manager. And it's a relationship manager with the customer. It's a
Mhm.
relationship manager with the office, and it's a relationship manager with the other team members. So that teacher is still there with the technician and or the service manager. And a lot of times I think in today's world, we used to take the best technician and made him a service manager.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened in sales. Make the best salesman or salesperson the sales manager, and we've unequivocally found that those tend to be kind of disastrous. And so you look for different skill sets today.
Yeah.
Again, even in the hiring process, for what we are doing within Comfort Systems is we're looking for really good people to hire, and we'll teach them the skills they need to be successful, which is why we've gone so deep into building out knowledge, information, and knowledge base and those types of things. And so I think that service manager, yes, teacher, I think is a great a great title for him. And probably the other one is facilitator. So I would put teacher and facilitator there, and not so much technical genius as it used to be.
I'm in complete agreement with you on that one, and you bring up some great points there. It's as that evolves, I think it's going to continue to be something that and for people that are out there that are listening, I think it's to your point. It's we used to just put the best there and say, yeah, be that person to put out the fires. That's not what that role is about anymore. And I think understanding that and evolving that with the growth and the changing expectations of technicians and customers is going to be huge. You guys have done a lot, and we're going to talk about it, here in the next, little bit at Comfort Systems with kind of scale knowledge.
Mhm.
As you have seen the industry changing lately, what, if you could boil down what technology has done, what do you think technology has done to the industry? If we could get it into 1 or 2 points from you over the last, let's call it 5, 7, 10 years.
Well, technology, I'm gonna kind of qualify a couple of things here. There's
Yeah.
technology and there's innovation. Okay.
All right.
And technology to me is the what, the innovation is the how. Okay. How you apply it. So the technology has really evolved to take and put a lot more things at our fingertips.
Yep.
Everybody's got a phone or a tablet, so on and so
Mhm.
forth. But the things that has done is the amount of information available at your fingertips today is much greater. And that's a function of technology, whether it's YouTube or some of the, answers anywhere, XOI, some of the other platforms. What it has done is technology's allowed us to put information at the fingertips of nearly anybody. Doesn't have to be a technician. There's some people that have never fixed an HVAC unit in their lives, and they're at home figuring it out because they can get onto YouTube. So that's the
Mhm.
technology aspect of it. The innovation side of it comes on how do you take and use that technology effectively? Because you
Yeah.
can take and put 2 new, 10 new, 20 new technologies in place today and say, man, we are really driving and pushing the envelope. But the innovation is how you apply those effectively to your business. So you're not just using technology, but you're benefiting from the application of the technology. And that's what we focus on a lot, because we test anywhere between, last year, I think we tested 12 different potential technologies that could help us. Only a couple of them made it through as actually being beneficial to us. It would have been doing more cool stuff. And that's what you
Mhm.
kind of have to be worried about. So when it comes to technology, and you probably heard this before, but it's find something that looks like it might have benefit, test it, but fail fast. And if it's not working, don't try and figure out how to make it work for you. Accept that it's not going to work for you easily and move on to the next one. You can spend too much time and too many resources trying to make it work because you think it's really cool. And there might be a few people in the organization that are going, man, we really need this. But those few people may not be nearly enough to make an impact. So you benefit a few people and you negatively impact hundreds or more people. And so you got to be careful with that and very cognizant of that.
That is you're reading almost reading from my playbook, man. I think it's funny you throw out the word cool. XOI is we've done. I personally we've done some great things, and we have been cool over the years. I hate the word. Like when people are like, "Oh, that's so cool," I'm like, I want it to be valuable. Like, and that's kind of where you're getting to, and that's kind of where this all lies. Is you got like, yes, we all want to be doing the cool thing. It's attractive. It's awesome. It's it's sizzle, but I need it to be impactful for as many stakeholders in an organization as possible. And I
Yes.
need it to drive value at all these levels. And you say it right. I think a lot of people get caught up, and I'd love to get your take on this. I think a lot of people get caught up with, well, it has to be perfect. I like speed versus perfection. And I'm not saying that, you can do it being 20% of the way there, but generally that final 20%, 80 to 100, that's the hardest part. And that's the innovation. That's how we're going to leverage it, that this tool. So I think it's another thing where people get caught up in like, well, I don't think it's ready. I don't think it's ready. It's like, no, it's ready. We got to get it out there and continue to evolve and figure out how it's going to be valuable through our entire business. What's your take on speed versus perfection?
Yeah, speed. Well, speed is critical both in the testing, because like I said, you got to fail fast. And so that
Mhm.
means when you're ready to go, you got to go test it, put your parameters in place. And if it fails, trust your parameters. Don't say, well, let's test it against a new set of parameters. Now you're just trying to find a way to make it work. Okay.
Yeah.
So the speed aspect is really critical from that standpoint. The other thing you have to look at with those new technologies is at what speed can you get it out to your organization? That one's not as critical, because the organization design has a lot to do with that. The
Mhm.
problem is when you are pushing that out and people stop and say, you know what, if it would do this, that'd be a little bit better. And that gets to that 80 to 90. And I'd say really it happens above 85%.
Yeah.
Those are the one that will slow you down and also not bring any benefit to the organization. So that's the nice to haves, and that's what takes and sometimes torpedoes these kind of applications, is that trying to get it closer to perfect can't be really an enterprise organization or an enterprise goal. If you can get it to 85%, you count on your organizations out in the field to adapt and make some minor modifications to their process. They might get to 90%. But as an enterprise organization, it's really hard to get there. What you will have is a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort and no results. And that's not too fiscally responsible when you really get down to it.
Ain't that the truth, man? Dude, Joe, those are words of wisdom, and your perspective on, obviously your role and your title suits you with what you're doing and the innovation you brought, because your perspective on it is a mature one in the aspect of, listen, we can't wait for these things. Like, if we want to make a dent in the industry, we want to cause change, like, we got to go. And I love what you said at the very end. I got to rely on my people to adjust their processes.
Mhm.
That's a big thing that I think people don't realize, is like, yeah, change management is hard no matter what you're doing. And ensuring that people say, all right, we're going to stick and move. We're going to make sure this works is a big one. It's almost like this has been curated to tee up and talk about the innovation of comfort systems. I love the path of this conversation because you guys have the Fix Center, which you guys have you have spearheaded, in my opinion, scaled knowledge in this industry for technicians. As you think about the Fix Center, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about it, and I want you to kind of talk about what you're doing with it. The question I want to ask is, what do you think this has done for your technicians that live inside of Comfort Systems? For those of you that are listening out there, Comfort Systems has built this Fix Center, and they have taken experts within their families and allow technicians inside of their operating companies to be able to reach out to them and get support. So it's no longer, you know, going back to that service manager or other technicians who are putting out fires and also on a call and all these things. You're saying, listen, we got these great minds. Let's utilize these great minds, have a shared resource, and allow every one of our technicians at every one of our companies to be the best technician they can be, because they have the access at their fingertips. Hopefully I did a good job of explaining a piece of it. But what do you think what you have spearheaded and you guys have done has done for the individual technician at company?
So I'm going to talk not just the technician, but the field service organization. So the two bigger
Yeah.
impact with the technician, it's given them, first of all, access to information and help immediately. Prior to us putting together this support center, a technician kind of had three ways to get help when they were stumped. And again, let's go back to the thing that not every technician can know everything. The other thing is, you train a technician on a piece of equipment, then they don't see it for 6 months. They almost might as well not have gone to class to some degree. And that happens. That's just the way of the world. So the old process was they would call another technician. Okay. Phone a friend. And then they would phone their boss. Okay. That super tech service manager probably isn't a super tech service manager anymore. Okay. So they go to them for help. Now, the challenge with both of those is that another technician's already working at a job site someplace. They're not waiting for the call from that technician. They're giving them short answers. Try this and then call me back. And so they're not working through it systematically. The service manager is doing their job. They might be in a billing meeting, a customer meeting, a sales meeting. They might be at a customer site. They might be doing training. They might, any one of the number of things they could do. And so they don't pick up their phone. So what happens is you've got a technician that is sitting there, not able to fix something and can't get a lifeline on the phone. And then the third process was to call the manufacturer. And I don't want to be unfair to the manufacturers, but I understand the manufacturer's dilemma because I used to work for one of the OEMs, one of the three biggest in HVAC, as a matter of fact. Those people that do the technical support are engineers and they're focused more on warranty. So when you call them and say the unit won't start, they don't want to talk about control signals. They don't want to talk about fuses, incoming power, breakers. They want to know if they've got a warranty issue. So the challenge with it is A, they don't really want to talk to third parties. And B, they aren't properly staffed to really be a technician support center. So you either wait online a long time and you're standing there in front of your customer waiting online, or you leave a message and they call you back in hours or after you've left the job, or maybe sometimes never. And so those were the challenges that we were trying to find, is that we got to solve to give technicians immediate access to help and support. And that's what we've built out with that. So when a technician calls us, we answer the phone, we walk them through a process based on their feedback. And it doesn't matter if they have been in the industry 20 weeks or 20 years. And we get calls from our field organization all around those very things.
That's fantastic, man. It's becoming it's not just an easy button, it sounds like, with you guys. It's more about, hey, we want to kind of walk this journey. We want to make sure you understand it. We want to go through that line of logic and ensure that the next time you may not need this, because we're walking through it to make sure that it sticks.
And the other part with that as well is that we are also teachers. So we're not rushing through to get them off the phone.
Yeah.
If, we've taught technicians how to do some of the basic things or reinforce what they learned in a training class. And the biggest part of all this is we're building this into a knowledge database because we wanted to not have to rely on tribal knowledge. We don't only want to be as good as the person answering the phone. And so that's where some of our technology platforms come in, like XOI, with all the information and data that we capture with it. And then the way we utilize that builds out that knowledge database. So we're not just as good as, my technical support person on the phone. We're as good as all the information we've gotten from all of our data within Comfort Systems and through processes like XOI with the data we're able to capture from there. So it gives us a much more powerful and sustainable way to support our technicians.
That's so awesome, man. It's kind of one of those things where I look at it and it's you think about the daily interactions that happen from tech to tech or tech to service manager or tech to super tech or whatever it may be. And these are traditionally lost in the ether, right? One interaction and there it goes. And what you guys are doing and what I know you're doing with XOI is saying, hey, yeah, let's utilize the tools, let's solve the problem, but let's build an asset on this. Let's not make this something that's lost in the ether, and let's continue to use it. Let's continue to grow with it and let it inform how we approach the world in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whether it be training or support. So again, man, what you guys have done, said it early, technology's here. It's the innovation that is truly impactful when you can figure out what you do with the tools. Got two more questions for you. One of them's fun, very end. The last one I want to ask you though is this. You've talked about a lot of great things that you guys have done. And we've talked about a lot of things that I think came faster than a lot of people thought they would. As you think about the next 5 years, we go 5 years forward. What is technology going to do? Is technology going to change the service technician and the service industry and the service manager even more? Do you see this kind of lighthouse where you're like, I think it's going to go here? Or is it like, man, it's moving so fast, it could be anything?
Technology is just going to continue to insert itself and assert itself within the daily work of a technician. And really just it doesn't matter, HVAC or any service. The equipment is getting more and more complex, but we are getting more adaptable to having that, more complex equipment. So we're both evolving together, both on the service, the leadership, the application, and the manufacturer. So we're kind of going through this whole journey together. So, it's not like it used to be. It's never going to be like it used to be. So what I see is technology is going to continue to evolve, and we will evolve with it. And within any large organization or even a small organization, you're going to have different people at different levels of that technology evolution. You get some people that don't want to use the phone more than for maybe looking up an article and making phone calls. And then you got other people that are trying to figure out how to utilize it to plug into the equipment. So you're always going to have different stages. The bigger thing is, I think, as we bring in new technicians, they come in with a higher expectation on technology. And so, I take a good example is typing. I don't think anybody teaches typing anymore in a school anywhere, at least in the United States that I'm aware of. I took typing classes and could type 70, 80 words a minute. That's a useless skill, but I'm still glad I've got it. So, we don't have to teach them those things. Technology has given us the ability to, do it and still get it done. So, things like voice to text have been immensely helpful. And that's a big part of what XOI does for us, voice to text, the character, the OCR with the data plates. And so more of the younger technicians coming in have a higher expectation of what it takes for them to be successful. And so we've got to stay ahead of that curve. So what do I see happening in the next 5 years is that leadership has got to look at those types of things and not judge what we need today, but look at who they want to attract 5 years from now and start looking down the road. And that's kind of where we're trying to go is we're expecting not to get the technicians already trained as much as we like. And so again, going back to, we've got to hire good people. So we want to hire people that can talk to customers. We want to hire nice people. We want to hire people that are adaptable, that communicate, that, have care abouts beyond what they do day to day at work. Our job, in my opinion, is to give them the skills and the knowledge and the support to allow them to be successful with their customer. And if we do that, that will help drive their, first of all, their resourcefulness, but it also, we've got to trust that person to do the right thing for the customer and be resourceful and use the right tools. So I think it's driving a much better trust with technicians than it
Yeah.
used to. But I think it also requires that we in general hire a little bit different people than we used to. And I just think that's where technology is helping us go, is that we don't have to wait until they develop that 20 years of knowledge.
Mhm.
We can have them have a few years of customer experience, and we can supply knowledge that'll make them technically, successful.
I love that answer, man. And it's the ethos comes back, speed and perfection, right? Let's get the person, let's allow them to have the tools to do what they need to do. And then the rest is going to come, and you guys are kind of build them and shape them in your way. You were talking about something. I don't need you to comment on it. You can if you want to, and then I'll ask you the final question. As you were talking, for years, I've engaged with organizations that are like, we want to reduce the number of apps. We want to reduce the number of apps. And then hearing you talk about the younger generation, they use more apps than anything.
Mhm.
That's their life. They see apps for particular purposes, and they say, I'm going to use this in my life to do this. And they are so, let's call it, familiar or comfortable with going in and out of applications on their phones and their tablets and all that, that what used to be, let's get down to as minimal apps as possible. I think that may change with the new generation, because they're so familiar with saying, well, I use this to be more effective in this scenario, and I know when to use it and why. So I think as I was listening to you talk, I'm like, there may be a change in kind of what we all have been talking about with, let's reduce it to, let's give people the tools to be successful and whatever that shakes out as, but ensure that they're all kind of talking to each other to give the customer the best experience.
That, I think that's a great point, JP, that trying to reduce the number of apps means that you're trying to build that perfect application that does everything for everybody. And I don't think anybody has a chance of accomplishing anything close to that. And so I've never taken that approach. I've always said, here's something that does something great. XOI, here's something that does something great. A quant, here's something that does something great. And to me, it's more about the integration. So for my mind, the more that we can make that utilization seamless is much better than trying to say that we've just got one platform, that this is everything you need. Okay. I've never gone to a job and taken my toolbox up there and gone, wow, I got everything I need for this. That happens, like 1% of the time. The other time is I get into it and go, well, I need a different one than that. So you start out with a base set of tools that you're going to go fix. Okay. And I don't care if it's mechanical or if it's with software, if it's with the development, you start with a basic set of tools and processes. And when you get deeper into it, you might need something else. And that's okay. What we've got to do is provide a seamless way for them to access that. And so I don't try and necessarily limit the number of apps. I try and integrate them so that it's right there. So they say, oh, you know what, I really need this. And they just click on it and go, instead of close down the mobile tech, close down the XOI, go onto my phone, scroll for 4 or 5 pages and go, there's the one I need. No, put the things that they need. So, don't make them have to go through it to get what they want to get done, but make it accessible for when they need it. So to me, the innovation part of technology is improve the integration and the accessibility and limit or improve the efficiency to get to those additional tools. It's not about how many you've got. It's about how well you can use them and how efficiently you can get to them. And that's how you improve the scalability of the technician, is give them everything they need, make them easy for them to get to it, support them when they need it. And, again, be focused on taking care of the customer quickly and efficiently.
Love it, Joe. Absolutely love that, man. This has been a fantastic conversation. You've opened my eyes on a couple of different things as we've gone through it. And so I really appreciate it. I got one final question for you, because I know that you are a cocktail aficionado. I've seen the videos, I've seen the things, trust me. And I'm a cocktail man myself, not gonna lie. So I'm gonna ask you this question. I'll give you my answer too.
Okay.
If you could describe yourself as one cocktail, what would it be and why?
Ah. Oh. Um. Wow. I'm not going to do it as a cocktail. I'm actually going to do it as a wine.
All right. All right.
And the reason would be, it would probably be an Australian Syrah, because they're bold, subtle, and they age well. How's that?
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Oh, that's perfect. I'd tell you, if you ask my wife, she'd probably tell you that I'd be the last word, because I feel like I got to get it in at times. But we're not going to go with that. I'd probably be, and let's go with a house bourbon,
Okay.
because I'm not that classy, and I can go with other things, and it's the other things that are going to make me better. Joe, you have been a awesome person to talk to. I cannot express how much I appreciate you being on here. Hopefully everybody out there has heard this and listened to how Joe speaks and talks about, technology and innovation and the utilization of tools, and hopefully it's impactful in your businesses as you're kind of going day in, day out and looking into the future. So thank you so much, Joe. Very much appreciate you. And for everybody out there listening, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Final Mile.
Thank you. And everybody, go out and take care of yourselves and your others and keep everybody safe.